would be remiss if I didn't do these tributes. And you'll see the second person I'm going to do a tribute to in this minute. But welcome everyone to another edition of Gavin Richard Presents here on my channel, GBoot2786. Whoever you are, wherever you are, I hope you are blessed and doing safe. There's nothing more to say that has not already been said about the voice that's here. The Queen, one and only Whitney Houston. And I say Queen, of course, I use, she certainly was a diva and a queen of music. Of course, her godmother, Aretha Franklin, is the queen. But as a kid growing up in late 80s, early 90s, Whitney Houston was that voice, especially after she did the national anthem at the Super Bowl. But of course, that was just groundbreaking in and of itself, because no one can really compare singing that national anthem. As much as you may feel about the national anthem, about the racial aspect of it, how the song stemmed from slavery and Francis Scott Key, whatever you feel about historically, when I hear Whitney Houston singing, I get goosebumps. I feel patriotic when I hear her sing that song. But for me as a kid, I remember when she did The Bodyguard, and that was the first time she actually did a movie. And The Bodyguard, it was badly criticized when it came out, but The Bodyguard actually became the highest grossing film of 1992, if I'm not mistaken. It went on to break box office records and had the best selling album of all time, one of the best-selling soundtracks of all time, that starred her and Kevin Costner. When Kevin Costner actually made great movies, because Kevin Costner, he had been on a bad tip. He started making horrible movies like The Postman and Waterworld or whatever around that time. But after he did, of course, The Bodyguard, that was a huge vehicle. In my understanding, when they made The Bodyguard, that was actually written in the 70s. That was by the guy who wrote Raiders of the Lost Ark, actually, and The Empire Strikes Back, Lawrence Kasdan. And that was actually something he wrote as far back as the 1970s as a vehicle for Diana Ross and Steve McQueen. But the movie went on to gross $411 million, and it was the second highest grossing film of 1992. I apologize. I thought it was The Bodyguard. But Aladdin, okay, so that makes sense too, because Aladdin is a Disney movie. We know Disney always wins. Disney ended up making over $500 million from Aladdin, and Batman Returns was like sixth, and then followed by A Few Good Men, Sister Act. You had top 10 movies of 1992 were Aladdin, The Bodyguard, Home Alone 2, Basic Instinct, Lethal Weapon 3, Batman Returns, A Few Good Men, Sister Act, Bram Stoker's Dracula. I remember seeing that one as a kid, man. Wow. And Wayne's World. Now, I'm mentioning all of that because as a kid, when I think about all of those movies, and I've seen those were all part of my youth. That was part of the pop culture lexicon then, and still in many ways it is part of it, but they don't make stuff like this anymore. They don't make movies like that anymore. The 90s was like the last true great decade, and I think that was because we didn't have an internet. If you weren't surprised about something, or you wanted to hear about some type of gossip or rumor, you had to wait till you went to school the next day. You heard, oh man, did you see that? Did you hear about what happened Did you hear about what happened in that movie? Did you see that movie, Basic Instinct? Oh God, when Sharon Stone lifted up her leg. But no, that's just what it was back then. Oh, you check this out. There was a hot, toy lines and so forth. Action figures from movies like Aladdin and Batman, video games. Those are stuff. They exist, but it's not the same type of hype as it used to be. And getting back to just Whitney, and because today would have been Whitney Houston's 57th birthday. Whitney Houston, God can only make one like her. because I haven't seen anyone that has ever come close. And despite all the jokes that we've laughed at and made, like I remember when they used to rib the shit out of her on Mad TV. BET used to do stuff about her, especially Comic View. I remember Coco Brown having the putting a scarf on a microphone stand saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, live from Afghanistan, Miss Whitney Houston," and that was after she did the Michael Jackson performance at the Michael Jackson tribute back in 2001. Even Michael was concerned about her health because he could see that she was real thin, like she wasn't eating. You could see her bones and so forth, and she was going through a bad time. And it's no secret, but about stuff she did. Like a lot of us learned that it wasn't Bobby Brown that really got her on the drugs. She actually got that from her brother. Her brother was the one that put her on stuff like that. And Bobby, from my understanding, he was a lot milder than her. But I'm not here to speak ill of the dead. Everybody knows, I saw the documentary on Whitney Houston that came out in 2017. It's actually on Showtime now. You can go see it. But I'm here to praise Whitney Houston. My favorite Whitney Houston song, outside of "I Will Always Love You," which, by the way, that was a song on the Bodyguard soundtrack and really pushed her into a pop culture iconic status. But that was a Dolly Parton song, and I didn't even know that. Dolly Parton actually wrote "I Will Always Love You." That was a country song. I didn't know that. A lot of people, I think, didn't even know that she wrote that. But that soundtrack is the best-selling soundtrack of all time. It's sold over 45 million units. They'll never make another one like her. So rest in peace, Whitney, and happy birthday. And this is another anniversary, though, of someone's death. Sadly, it's of someone's death. Today is Whitney's birthday, but today is also the 12th year anniversary of the passing of Bernie Mac, comedy legend, icon. My father actually had the privilege of meeting Bernie Mac here in New Orleans because Bernie was shooting the movie Mr. 3000. And while my dad was talking to his neighbor where the movie was shot at, because they rented out the homes for the shootings sequences of the film, for shooting the film, in our neighborhood, Bernie Mac actually stuck his head in my dad's car and said, "Who you with?" And my dad got to say, "Oh man, it's the Mac Man." And my dad got out the car and actually shook hands and hugged Bernie Mac. And from all intents and purposes, from what people who know Bernie Mac, everything they've said about him has been nothing but positive, because he was a real dude. He was a real one. When they did the original Kings of Comedy, Bernie Mac was not the original comedian that closed. He was not the anchor leg. The anchor leg was Steve Harvey, because at that time Steve Harvey was on the television. He had the Steve Harvey Show. But from what Corey Holcomb said, Steve Harvey was always bombing. And Steve, I always thought, was jealous of Bernie Mac, because I remember even reading how when Bernie got the Ocean's 11 movie, he was trying to take that away from Bernie Mac. Because you got to think about it. Bernie was in that movie with heavy hitters like George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, Carl Reiner. A lot of, Steve Harvey wasn't really in no movies like talking about that. And from what D.L. Hughley even said, that was the reason why they never did a Kings of Comedy 2. There was actually talks of them doing another one, but Steve and Bernie were not on good terms. And Bernie, for all intents and purposes, he made the Kings of Comedy. Like nothing makes me, you know, when you watch the Kings of Comedy, everybody has their favorite. Everybody watches. Some person is going to watch DL and find DL laughable. People are going to watch Cedric the Entertainer, thought his set was fire. People, you know, Steve Harvey was just the MC, and they laughed at some things that he did. But everybody, universally, that you speak to, when you talk about the Kings of Comedy, the first thing they're going to say is Bernie Mac. And when he did the routine about his sister's kids being on drugs, and said, I ain't scared to tell you, some of your family members are fucked up too. You know, the Mac Man was funny like that. And, you know, my first recollection of him as a kid was two places, Def Comedy Jam and House Party 3. And Bernie was the one who kind of filled in that void for us in the comedy game when Robin Harris died. You know, I studied stand-up because of Bernie Mac. I got on stage because of him. You know, of course there were others, but Bernie was the one who had, you know, a phenomenal stage presence like no one else. And Robin Harris, if you guys ever remember, those in the hood, we know who Robin Harris is, but Robin died before he actually broke out into mainstream. And Bernie was just, in truthfulness, just getting started. Because I really think he would have gone even further. He never even had his own solo stand-up special. He was trying to do one before, you know, he passed away from sarcoidosis and having that deadly illness that he battled with. But that, you know, House Party 3, when he played Robin Harris's brother, you know, Robin had died a couple years prior, and he was Kid's father in House Party. And so Robin, you know, passes away, and Kid is about to get married. This is the third house party after the second when he went to college. And, you know, Bernie comes in and takes over the show. And you guys can check out, they've taken down some of the videos, but if you look at the if you look up the House Party 3 dinner scene between Bernie Mac, Simply Marvelous, may she rest in peace as well. She's from Louisiana, actually. She died a couple years ago, if I'm not mistaken, not too long ago. And even Ronaldo Ray, who also died. I mean, damn, he died 5 years ago, man. That's sad that all of those great comedians are not there anymore. But you go look at that scene with Ronaldo Ray and Bernie Mac and Simply Marvelous there, and for 5 minutes, even if though the movie was terrible, Bernie Mac made you watch. Like he made you. That one scene was what made the movie watchable. Because he took over. You know, when he was talking about, you guys know that scene I'm talking about, when he's talking about Jawbone. Sit down, witch hazel. I'm getting ahead of myself, y'all, but I'm just thinking of all of that, man. But, you know, the last movie he did was Soul Man with Samuel L. Jackson and Isaac Hayes. And I remember Isaac Hayes even passing away the very next day, which is tomorrow, the 10th. You know, and a lot of people were hit hard when that happened, but sometimes that's how death works, you know. It can be 3 people in one day that are famous. I mean, Michael Jackson and Farrah Fawcett died the same day. You know, this 2020 year has been awful because we've lost a lot of people, you know, legends that are not here anymore. You know, the Kobe Bryant is gone, and you know, his passing of his daughter. Of course, you lost, you know, the 3 civil rights leaders, like in less than a week, are the 3 civil rights icons like John Lewis and C.T. Vivian and Charles Evers dying within that time. So, point I'm making with all of this, guys, is that you got to live life to the fullest. And those who are here with us, you got to cherish them, because they're not going to be here the next day. There's no guarantee. So if you have a loved one out there, you make sure when you wake up tomorrow and you got time in the middle of the day, tell them you love them and check on them. Try and see if you can hang out with them a little bit. But I guess we can't hang out too much with this COVID pandemic. But during those times, just think about that. And rest in peace to both Whitney Houston and the Mac Man, Bernie Mac. We love y'all. We miss y'all. Your presence is well missed, but you will live forever in our hearts and through your art of music and world of comedy. Thank y'all so much. This has been it, guys. This is another one. This has been another episode of Gavin Reshaw Presents, only on channel GBoot2786. Guys, I will see you in the next video. It won't be long. Peace.